The sun had just begun its ascent over the horizon, casting a golden glow upon the tranquil forest. John, an avid hunter with a passion for the great outdoors, could hardly contain his excitement as he embarked on his long-awaited hunting trip. The air was crisp and invigorating, carrying with it the earthy scent of pine and the sweet fragrance of wildflowers blooming along the forest floor. With each step, John felt a sense of exhilaration building within him, his anticipation mounting with every rustle of leaves and chirp of birdsong that filled the air. He relished the freedom of being immersed in nature, surrounded by towering trees and the soothing sounds of a babbling brook nearby. As he ventured deeper into the forest, the canopy above provided a dappled shade from the early morning sun, casting intricate patterns of light and shadow upon the forest floor. A gentle breeze stirred the branches overhead, causing the leaves to sway and dance in a mesmerizing rhythm. After hours of trekking through the wilderness, John finally arrived at his chosen hunting spot, a secluded clearing nestled between the trees. With practiced ease, he set about pitching his camping tent, securing it firmly to the ground and arranging his gear with meticulous care. The familiar routine brought him a sense of comfort and familiarity, a temporary sanctuary amidst the untamed wilderness. As the day stretched on, John took a moment to pause and admire the natural beauty that surrounded him. The vibrant hues of wildflowers that dotted the landscape, the graceful flight of birds soaring high above, and the distant murmur of wildlife going about their daily routines. With a contented smile, he settled into his makeshift camp, ready to spend the night beneath the star-studded sky, eager for the adventures that awaited him in the days to come. As night descended upon the forest, John's sense of excitement gradually gave way to a growing unease. The once familiar sounds of the wilderness took on an eerie quality, their echoes amplified by the stillness of the night. Despite his efforts to shake off his apprehension, a nagging sense of foreboding lingered in the air. As he settled into his tent, John couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of twigs seemed to echo in the darkness, sending a shiver down his spine. Determined to brush off his fears, he stoked the campfire and tried to lose himself in the crackling flames. But as the hours passed, the wound on his hand began to throb with a dull, persistent ache, a painful reminder of his vulnerability in the unforgiving wilderness. With each passing minute, the darkness seemed to press in around him, suffocating him with its oppressive weight. In a desperate bid to distract himself from his mounting fear, John ventured outside the safety of his tent, his flashlight cutting through the darkness like a beacon of hope. But as he moved deeper into the forest, the shadows seemed to grow thicker, more menacing, swallowing up the feeble light with hungry darkness. Suddenly, a strange sound pierced the silence. A low, guttural growl that sent a jolt of adrenaline coursing through John's veins. Heart pounding, he turned to flee back to the safety of his tent. But a sharp pain in his injured hand caused him to stumble and fall to the forest floor. As he struggled to regain his footing, a figure emerged from the shadows, a hulking silhouette with glowing eyes that seemed to pierce the darkness with an otherworldly intensity. Frozen in terror, John could only watch helplessly as the figure drew closer. Its intentions unknown, its presence filling him with a primal fear, unlike anything he had ever experienced before. With his heart hammering in his chest, John's instincts screamed at him to run, to flee for his life from the looming figure in the darkness. Adrenaline surged through his veins, lending strength to his limbs as he scrambled to his feet and bolted towards the safety of his tent, the haunting growls of the creature echoing in his ears. As he reached the relative safety of his campsite, John frantically searched for any means of defense, his hands trembling as he grasped for his rifle, his mind racing with thoughts of survival. But before he could even raise the weapon, the creature lunged forward with lightning speed, its claws slicing through the air with deadly precision. In a desperate bid to evade the creature's grasp, John ducked and rolled, narrowly avoiding its outstretched claws as he tumbled to the ground. With a surge of adrenaline-fueled determination, he sprang to his feet and charged towards the safety of the forest, his injured hand forgotten in the heat of the moment. But just as he reached the edge of the clearing, a sudden flash of movement caught his eye, a glint of moonlight reflecting off the barrel of his rifle, abandoned in his haste to escape. With a split-second decision, John veered off course, his hand closing around the cold metal of the weapon as he spun to face his pursuer. With a primal roar, the creature lunged at him once more, its feral instincts driving it forward with relentless ferocity. But John stood his ground, his fingers tightening around the trigger as he unleashed a barrage of bullets towards his attacker. Each shot echoed through the night like thunder, illuminating the darkness with flashes of fire and smoke. And then, in an instant, it was over. The huge bear collapsed to the forest floor, its monstrous form vanquished by the sheer force of John's determination and courage. With a weary sigh of relief, he lowered his rifle, his heart still racing with the adrenaline of battle. John breathed a prayer, a silent thanks mixed with a pang of regret. He'd never forget the sight of that bear, so magnificent, so powerful. It could have been him lying torn and broken if he hadn't acted, but that didn't erase the guilt. As the first light of dawn began to break over the horizon, John emerged from the forest, battered and bruised but triumphant in his victory over the forces of nature. With each step he took towards his camping, he knew that he had faced his fears head-on and emerged stronger for it, ready to face whatever challenges the wilderness might throw his way in the future.